text says in Hebrews chapter 4, the first verse, Therefore, while the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us fear lest any of you should seem to have failed to reach it. For good news came to us just as to them. But the message they heard did not benefit them because they were not united by faith with those who listened. For we who have believed enter that rest, say rest, as he said, as I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest, although his works were finished from the foundations of the world. He said, I have a rest, but disobedience will prevent you from entering in. In other words, there's no rest for disobedient, though it's available. The text says, for he has somewhere spoken of the seventh day in this way, and God rested on the seventh day from all his works. And again in this passage he said, they shall not enter my rest. Since therefore remains for some to enter it, and those who formerly received the good news failed to enter because of disobedience. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to talk about a few moments this morning. If we don't get somewhere and sit down, you may be sitting. Let me say it like we heard it. If you don't get somewhere and sit down, if you don't get somewhere and sit, I left two words out. Amen. Depending on where you was raised. Paige, you saw the two words I left. I left two words. If you don't get somewhere and sit. Do I have a witness in this building? That's. Hey. I want to deal with this because we are sometimes too prideful to sit and too disobedient to rest when we sit. I want to make biblical sense of the godly principle behind rest. And so what better place to start as it pertains to the God principle than with God himself in Genesis chapter 2. But if you look at Genesis chapter 1, actually, Genesis chapter 1, the 31st verse, Genesis chapter 1, the 31st verse, it reads like this. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work. Now notice the text does not say that on the seventh day that God took a nap. It does not say that God went to sleep. It simply said that he rested. Why? Because if it said that he took a nap or that he went to sleep, that would imply that God was tired. But God was not tired. He rested, or he ceased, because A, the work was complete. B, he had taken note that all he did was very good, so he had to stop to appreciate what he had accomplished. 2, and 3, above all, to show us to not wait until we're worn out before we rest. We tend to rest when we get tired. That's the wrong time to rest. I've heard so many people say, I'm going to work until I can't walk no more. I'm going to work until I can't see. Well, why vacation when you can't see the palm trees? When God ceased from working, this is Genesis chapter 2. There's a lot more Bible to go. There are many more miraculous works that God still has to do. But when it came to this particular project, God knew it's time to rest. Stop from this one. It doesn't mean that there's not more for you to do. But you must know when it's time to rest when it comes to the completion of certain projects in certain seasons. God rested as a model for us. That Jesus Christ went away sometimes to get away from the crowd to rest. Here's something very key in this text, though. He completed the work. Then he rested. I need to say this because in the house this morning, there's a spirit of half done. There may, not you, but someone on your road, there's a spirit of half done. A spirit of good enough is good enough when you have not completed the task. God is saying it's okay to rest, but you still got to complete the task I put in front of you. So God, he instituted rest as a principle. Now here in Genesis, rest is not just a numerical thing that happened on the seventh day. The seventh day in Hebrew is the Shabbat, the seventh. That's why many people today, they still go to church on Saturday because they are Seventh-day Adventists or Sabbath-day saints, that type of thing. So, but had God stopped working on Thursday, Thursday would have been the sabbatical. He would have blessed and made Thursday holy had that been the day that he stopped working. So this is not tied to a particular day. It's simply to mark the day that God stopped working and rested from the work that he had created. It was such a principle that when we get to the Ten Commandments in Exodus chapter 20, verse 8, God decided my principle is so imperative to my people remaining holy, I want to make sure that I include that in my commandments to Moses in Exodus chapter 20, the 8th verse. Now listen very carefully because this is pertinent to my point. You shall, it says, remember the Sabbath day, verse 8, to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter, your male servant or your female servant, your livestock, even the cow got a day off. Or the sojourner who is within your gates. For in 6 days, he went back to Genesis, to the principle. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rest the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and made it holy. Here is the principle again. What made it holy? It wasn't the day. It was the completion of a task and to put into our daily living that God expects us to not work, Rihanna. He wants us to have a break. It's a godly principle to have a day that you rest. Listen, if you don't have a day of rest, if you don't have a sabbatical, it says one of two things. Either you ain't did nothing to need a rest, which by default, that makes you worse than an infidel because you ain't working. Or you're simply too disobedient and stubborn to submit to something God put in place for you. Either you ain't did nothing, I don't need no break, I'm good. Or you got too much pride to submit to rest, because if you don't do it, it ain't gonna get done. Now, this is bigger than just a day. You can pick whatever day you want to pick. Matter of fact, Colossians 2:16 says, don't let nobody judge you on the day that you choose as your day of rest. We're in a society where some people work weekends. No one can judge you on the day that you choose. Matter of fact, go to Romans 14, verse 5. Go to Romans 14, verse 5. I got about 13 minutes. Romans 14, verse 5. When you find it, say word up. I'm going to keep looking as I'm going to wait on you because I found it. Romans 14, verse 5. One person esteems one day as better than another, while another esteems all days alike. Each one should be fully convinced in his own mind. So whatever your day of worship is, your day of Sabbath, your day of rest is, your day of reflection, that is your day. And it's cool in the game. Just long as on that day, you're reflecting on what you've accomplished and being thankful for what you've accomplished. And it's a day that you're giving your mind and your body and your soul time to rest and commune with God. What we see in Genesis is a Sabbath. That page, it marks the completion of a work. By the time we get to the New Testament, we see the Sabbath now being the Christian Sabbath, which is the day that Jesus rose, that the tomb was discovered to be empty. Luke chapter 24:1. It's the day that the early church met on in Acts. 1 Corinthians 6 says it's the same day they took up the offering on the first day of the week. So now we see a shift in Sabbaths. It went from the completion of a work in Genesis, but by the time we get to an empty tomb, it now marks the beginning of a new work. Your Sabbath should mark the completion of something you did and the preparation for something you're about to do. Your Sabbath looks back in appreciation. Your Sabbath looks forward in anticipation. But you can't pause to appreciate either if you don't stop to rest. Are y'all still here? Hebrews 4, our lunch text, it appears to speak of rest as if it were a place. Look at the language here. Look at this language in Hebrews. The language is quite profound. It says, chapter 4, verse 1, therefore, while the promise of entering his rest still stands. Look at verse 3. For we who have believed enter that rest. As he has said, as I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest. It's as if rest is a place. It's not just a thing to do. It's a place to enter. Oh, it ain't gonna take me long to say this part. The problem is not that you're not tired. You're just restless because of where you are. You're not in a place where rest is conducive. It's not that you don't desire rest, but you have not entered into it. It is a place, though not physical. You could be in a comfortable place, still restless. You could be making the money that you aspire to. You could be making $500,000 a year. You could be making $3.7 million a year and still have no rest. Biggie said, more money, more problems. As a matter of fact, so rest. You could be in a house of your dreams, not able to sleep at night. Who am I talking to? It's a place that we are to enter. God said in his wrath, when in Psalm 95, around about verse 11, he's talking about, I won't let them enter my rest because they're stiff-necked, hard-headed people. They're too disobedient to rest. They wander around doing all these things. They cannot stop. They're always trying to find something new to do. They have no rest. Your disobedience, it wakes you up in the morning, tells you good night at night, because you know what you do and what you don't do, disobedient-wise, that's keeping you from entering his rest. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to deal with in a very real way, because there's some tired people in the room. You got spiritual bags under your eyes because you haven't rest. All you've been doing is working at it. And then you want to bring God in on it. God's still working on me. Who am I talking to in this building? When you going to rest? When's the last time you've been in a place of peace? There is a place that some of us in the room, we're very well acquainted with, Vernon. And it's a place that we can just get with God. And just, oh God, thank you for what I've been able to accomplish. Wow. Oh God, I can't wait to step into this new season that's in front of me, God. And you just rest. It may not be on a Sunday. It may be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, love, Sunday, Monday. Listen, if this text is correct, it's a sin not to rest. God said in Genesis, before the law, Exodus in the law, and taught in Hebrews after the law. Hear me. It's a sin not to rest. It's against God's will for your life to not rest. Even when you retire, you should find something to do. I don't believe nobody should just fully retire. Your working years was your Genesis season of creation. When you stop from your working years and your Genesis season of creation, it's now time to do some other miracles. You just ain't doing that no more. No one. You should never look forward to doing nothing, because you were not created to do nothing. There's a study done of what decade are we at our most creative and effective. Decade, 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. What decade would you guess would studies show you're at your height of creativity and effectiveness with what you do? 20s, 30s, 40s. Who's at 40s? Who's at 50s? Who's at 30s? Who's at 20s? No. That's you make the most mistakes in your 20s. You ready? You're at your most effective in your 70s. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about this right here, see. In her 70s, she won't waste the time that a 30-year-old wastes. In her 70s, she's already done the things that 50-year-olds are trying to figure out. In your 70s, she can give you she can give you one sentence worth the whole sermon in her 70s. And and I'll tell you another one. Do you know Miss Perline? Never mind. Miss Perline. It's inside. It's good. The decade of most effectiveness, number 2, is your 60s. Past. Oh yeah, you showed. Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is, guys, we are built to be creators. We're built to work, but we also are built to rest. Let me share something with you. I told you it's sin not to rest. Watch what this says. Watch what it says here in verse 6. Since therefore it remains for some to enter it, and those who formerly received the good news failed to enter because of disobedience. Are you hearing this? The people who could not rest are the disobedient people. They never entered in. Anybody ever fish? Any fishermen or fisher ladies? Well, I don't fish at all. But I've been twice. And I remember I'm on this boat fishing, and I got a bite. It is the most exciting thing, terrifying thing, nerve-wracking thing on the planet. I thought you nervous when you on a set somewhere when people drive by shooting. It has nothing to do. It has nothing on fishing and catching that bite for the first time. That thing got to pulling. I'm like, oh my goodness. What is on this? I must got a whale. It's a whale in this lake. So I got a whale. The dude with me, he is laughing. So I couldn't get it in. He said, let me get it. He got it. I'm like, hey, hold on tight, man. I got a big one. You sure you got it? Because it's a monster. He pulls out this fish. I said, mine must have got away, man, because the one I had was had to be. And when he put it in the boat, Miss Thomas, it started flopping around the boat. It started doing the same thing in the boat that it did in the water. But outside of the water, it wasn't very effective. In the water, it was strong to pull against me. But out of the water, it was just flipping around, making movements and to no avail. That's what it's like to not be in his rest. When you're in his rest, Doug, you're stronger. You can pull against some stuff. You can stay in his rest. Outside of his rest, you're just flopping around. Now, I want to share something with a few of you guys. This may not apply to everybody, but for those who are here, the restless ones, the young and the restless, the old and the restless. I wish I had some soap opera people in the building. The text says simply, again, he appoints a certain day. Preacher, I thought you said we can choose our day. Again, he appoints a certain day, today, saying through David so long afterward in the words already quoted, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Today, now, the first rest is salvation rest. You stay for the whole sermon, the whole service.
congratulations. I hope it blessed you guys. And if you were blessed, share it with a friend. And again, guys, if you were not here in person, but you like to be a part of our worship experience through giving, the options are on the screen. We'd love for you to partner with us. And if you've never been here live, fix that problem. Here's what we do. If you're from out of state and you're a faithful streamer here, we'd love to pay for your hotel if you ever want to come here live. We'd love to do that. Do it today. Schedule your plane ticket. We got your hotel covered to come worship here at Koinonia Christian Church live and in living color. God bless your whole life. Thank you for joining us today for worship.